Welcome back to the Life and Listings podcast. Today, I have Norman joining us. Hey, Norman, how are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good. So tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're at, what you do.
Yeah, most definitely. So first and foremost, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be on your show. One of my goals on the vision board is to help others. And so that's my intention for today's episode, is to do the best I can to just serve and support and inspire just one person. My name is Norman Kinsey III. I go by AKA Mr. Liftoff. You can find me with that alias. I have a 6-year-old daughter, a wife who has a tea company. She's Reds Antico. She's an international tea master. So that's very unique and very different. About 10 years ago, I started a company called Liftoff Agent. It evolved since where we started personal assistance and support real estate to now Liftoff Agent. And we help licensed real estate professionals, some mortgage professionals, either start, ramp, and or scale their business online so they can be able to passively prospect, get more focus on their ideal avatar, and have more success with that process. Live in Gilbert, Arizona, have 2 cats, Vincent and Julius, and moved out of California during COVID and didn't want to have to deal so much with that whole lockdown situation. And yeah, started being in business for myself at like 20, 23, 24, 38 years old. So it's been an amazing, amazing ride, an amazing journey. And also have a podcast as well and interviewed a few people, around 450 plus now with Real Estate First Technology. And you were on my show too.
Yeah, it was I didn't know about the cat thing. So you're a cat guy.
I'm a cat guy. Yes.
But like that's a unique thing. And then I don't know if I knew about California also. That might be why we belong.
Yeah, 33 years in California and started the company out there doing a lot of, I donated my time to the Young Professionals Network. I donated my time to the women's, I did the women's fashion show, the WCR committee, was on like different committees, different boards, just to really get deeper into the industry because I was never actually licensed and I wanted to learn everything I could. So that's where back in California, I called the 350 agents to understand what they're going through, immerse myself into the brokers tours, the open houses, all that type of stuff. And then during COVID, 8 months before COVID, we closed down our office and I built a little office studio in my wife's tri-level condo in the basement or the garage. And so funny thing there, I actually needed to get more sun. So I got a little sick. But yeah, I just built in the garage again, from a master bedroom to actually having an office to then growing in this garage. And now I'm here in this new office, I guess you could say new, in Gilbert, Arizona. I just built out this studio in one of the rooms in our personal residence here in Gilbert, Arizona.
That's so funny. I love it. I'm actually in the basement. We are building my office right now so I can have windows. So I totally
Oh, really?
Right there.
Dude, my partner got me one of those fake light. It's similar, it's like a panel and you plug it in and it gives off the same type of energy as the sun, I guess you could say. But yeah, having windows is a real thing.
It's real luxury when you kind of upgrade. We're in the process of building ours.
I can see outside. Oh my God, it's blue.
I know. It's like my whole office is planned around what I can see out my window. I'm very specific about it now because I've been in this basement for 5 years growing that. So you can't really tell by the background. The basement, it looks pretty nice, but it's definitely a basement bedroom.
Interesting. See, you don't know what you don't know until you know.
No, I'm seriously, I should do a story later about what real life is. You're in the podcast studio, you walk out, you're in it's real life, right?
I love that.
So tell me a little bit. You've really grown your business by being online, which is obviously what you're helping agents do too. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I called 350 agents and said, okay, what are you going through? My intention, I was doing dog walking, chores, errands, other type of activities, selling stuff online. I didn't really have a good footing as far as what industry I'm going to serve. They say the riches in the niches. So then I found a boutique brokerage back in California called J. Rockcliffe Realtors, if anyone knows who they are. They had about 450 agents, boutique brokerage in a luxury market like Black Hawk and Danville, Alamo in California, about 35 minutes outside of San Francisco. And so calling the agents, they said 3 commonalities, they want to be different from their colleagues. They want control from broker to broker, and they want the same support, whether they're a top agent or not. And then I saw a friend who had a Facebook account with 5,000 friends on Facebook. And I'm like, oh my God. I think her name was Adrian. I was like, Adrian, how the heck do you have 5,000 friends on Facebook? And she's like, well, this is how it works. And this is what you do. And I wasn't big on social media at the time. And this is when Facebook was first getting started. So I saw the opportunity of, say, social media and networking and doing something in that space. And then I started doing presentations and going to brokers and going to small offices and just talking about social. And then it started to snowball into like doing more with websites, because social is okay, but there had to been more than just social, because you don't have control over that. Like, I love it for networking and meeting new people and promoting. And there's so many things you could do with it, especially you go viral, you can reach a ton of people. But there was something about websites and then like developing a brand, hence like the Mr. Liftoff brand that now I've like organically grown, I guess you could say. That's for a whole nother story. And so we thought to ourselves, like, hey, like, how do we help agents get focused on like a niche? Like, is it a buyer of a home, a seller of a home? Why is that person looking to buy or sell? And then having a website that can then tie into the social media, that can educate them. And then most recently, last past year and a half or so, and this kind of started when I was going from California to Gilbert, Arizona. I was like, I don't want to fly out. I don't want to get a car. I don't want to have to get a hotel. And my wife had family here, her mother and her stepfather, but they're busy. So I was just like, let me see what I can look up. So I looked it up. I found YouTube, and I found basically some guy who wasn't licensed real estate agent, who was showing me Chandler and Gilbert and Mesa and Scottsdale. And like, he had his phone like on his tripod of his car, and he was just like showing these areas. So I'm like, this is cool. And so I already had Liftoff Agent, and we were doing the social listing promotion and websites and doing the logo design. And then I was like, man, like, we started to dabble into these lead pages, and I'm like, how could we potentially go deeper with using YouTube? And then it really started to catapult when we signed up like Adam Hancock with the Sunshine State Company. He has the Florida relocation guide. The guy did like $300 million off YouTube in 4 years, has 5.3 million views. And Tom Ferry gives him a lot of referrals, because Tom Ferry, a lot of coaches, they don't talk about passive prospecting or YouTube or long form content. So that's where I was like, oh my God. And so now I'm seeing that these agents, there's like channel junkies, there's Levi Lassick and Travis with living in Dallas, Texas, and they coined passive prospecting and have courses. It's like this fan celebrity relationship. It's like you could build a relationship with someone, and it's one-sided because they watch your content and videos. Like, one thing on social, it's another thing on YouTube. And there's a book called The 7 Triggers to Yes. And it states if you do something for someone else not expecting anything in return, that's where YouTube comes in, and you're educating them on the parks or the schools, the restaurants, or things to do. You're basically building in your sleep a relationship with someone that doesn't know you, that then can turn into an opportunity to serve them and do business with them. And that person feels like almost like an obligation, tying into the 7 Triggers to Yes, to work with you, because they see all the hard work and dedication that you put in and all the videos you've been filming, and they got a bunch of good information. Now they're going to make the choice to make that move. So
Yeah.
now they're like, oh my God, Jennifer, like, you're it. Like, I want to work with you. I'm moving from California to wherever, your specific state is. And it's an interesting kind of like dichotomy. And like, for me too, even with stories, I post everything on my stories, every single thing that I do. I'm a little obsessive, but everything's on stories. Just got back from Hawaii, it's on stories. And then I did like all the little stories that turned it into a reel. Met my wife off Instagram, my old podcast host and VP off of Instagram, because I'm just so transparent. People feel like they know me. And then like, whether I'm at the gym or a car show or whatever, they're just like, oh yeah. And like, they just already know what's going on in my life. So it's less filling them in. It's more talking about how was the experience, right? So like, that's how I've been using social, and it's been so powerful and just a blessing to be able to, I don't know, leverage your past, endeavors or things that you've done for future successes and whatever it is that you're doing to earn more business, build relationships, right? It's cool stuff.
So I love the fact that you, in the very beginning, you said that you're helping agents niche down.
Yeah.
So are you kind of like providing coaching in that? Do agents come with a niche and say, I'm really good at XYZ? Is that like a mixture of both?
Yeah, no, great question. So it's a mixture of both. We have some referral partners that send us over agents that are already going to be in like the YouTube passive prospecting hemisphere. And then that ties directly into maybe like ramping them up or scaling them up because they're already in that arena. Some will come in because they just are thinking about a website. And then it's like, oh, like, how are you using your website? Because a lot of individuals don't think about their website from the perspective of how could you save time? If it's the buy side, well, then what does the buy process look like? And could you do videos? Could you have a form? Could you have something to help guide them through the process where you don't have to trade your time with a text message or a phone call? Same thing on the sell side. And then from there, what can you do to be able to have maybe your vendors list on your website, or maybe a formal listing presentation landing page to showcase testimonials before, after? So it's a really cool term that I like to use. It's like, okay, I have a toolbox, all these tools, but like I never use the tools. So I just want to take back this tool set to Home Depot, even though I haven't used it last past year. Sorry, even though you didn't use the tools in the toolbox that you bought from Home Depot, maybe Costco will let you take it back. That's, people talking about Costco. It's like, I took back my vacuum after 2 years. So I guess that would work in that case. But if you don't use it and it's out of sight, out of mind, then it's not going to work for you. And so that's where I feel like the website portion is smart when you niche down. If you work with anyone and everyone, fine. At least have your standard operating procedure within a page on your site so you can save yourself time. And all you have to do is think about, what is a process that I go through when I'm working with a buyer or seller? Let's put it down on paper. Let's turn it into a guide. Let's turn it into a welcome video. Let's have some testimonials on that page. And then let's go deeper with maybe 5 to 10 videos filmed for YouTube, where it's like, here's a playlist of videos I want you to watch before we meet, or maybe after you meet them. And if they can follow the process and download the guides, they're part of your systems. They can get text automation, email automation. You could retarget them. And then they can also be confident in the fact that you've already really thought this stuff through.
My nerdy brain is totally loving that idea, because I mean, that I'm a nerd with Follow Up Boss and all that stuff. And I'm just thinking, any Follow Up Boss users that do this on your website, you could add a pixel and then you could literally see exactly what your clients are going to on your website. And that's going to be a great conversation topic. If you can see that Betty Sue, who's under contract, has gone to the, I don't know, what happens during a home inspection video 87 times, maybe you want to call her because she's super concerned about the home inspection. I think that's pretty interesting. I've never really thought, I've seen people put the vendors and stuff on their website, or I've seen people make videos. Seen people do little bits and pieces of that. I guess I've never really thought about putting your entire process somewhere on your website. So you're just constantly telling your clients everything that you need from start to finish, right? If you want to search for a property, it's on my website. If you want to watch my YouTube videos about all the different areas like you talked about with the guy in Arizona, on my website. If you want the how-tos of how we're going to write an offer, on my website. I mean, that's pretty powerful, right? They probably at that point don't even need to ask you a ton of questions. They're probably going to go to your site first.
Yes.
And then be like, I didn't find it here.
Yep.
But then if you have the proper tracking, you're going to know in your CRM, hopefully, that this person's been, because I have it on our stats website. Don't be scared, anyone that's in our database. But I can see when people are going back and reading blogs or watching videos or going to the contact page, and it clues me in on who I should be focusing in on.
Yes.
Based on their interests.
Yes. And there's actually, to take it a step further as far as nerding out, you could use Hotjar to basically find out where the cursor is screening over on the map. There's VideoAsk. So it's a little pop-up. It's on the bottom right of the site, which you can then follow them around the site and be like, hey, are you looking to buy a home, sell a home, relocate? It's a video journey. You also have a video walkthrough tour. So you can actually walk someone through your website like you would a home tour. And then you could also do, it's called warmly.com, which gives you contact information for new viewers that go to your website that don't do anything. It's a little Big Brother-ish, but basically if you don't agree to the terms, then you are agreeing, because at the bottom of the website, you would say what information you want to give the person. They use IP address to get first name, last name, contact information. So those are technically leads coming in, super simple, very easy. And then you could do the retargeting, where if you ever go to a website and you're looking at some shoes, or you're going to go shopping, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm looking at rims. I just bought another dream car of mine, which is a Ram. And so I'm looking at rims, and then all of a sudden I have these rims that are popping up on my feed, and I'm like, oh, I like those. So it's feeding me more of what I've already looked up. and giving more of that content to me from the perspective of like, because I went to that website, it's feeding me additional rims I might want. So those are all things that I think realtors don't understand that is possible when it comes to like a website which you more or less own compared to social media, where it's like you're kind of at the mercy of the algorithm and like and the platforms, and you have to follow this certain type of process in order to have success with it, compared to SEO, right? And blog content or YouTube and long form content, and then, driving people to your website and just adding more value from that perspective.
And I like that point, not to get too far into it and like freak people out, but like you don't own your Instagram.
No.
You don't own your Facebook. And that's where a couple of our clients have really learned the hard way when they were like all in on Facebook, and all of a sudden Facebook locked them out of their ad account, and now they can't advertise to all the people that they had been building for years and years and years. And they had to pivot to a better website, to more SEO, to collecting emails because they had never done that before. Scary stuff, right? And Facebook isn't exactly that helpful when you have issues. They're kind of like, wait, we made our decision. You did something wrong. You're like, what did I do wrong? You just did something wrong. You got to figure it out yourself.
Yeah. Well, just like TikTok, they're talking about TikTok basically going away. And I know a friend of mine, Zachary Loff, he's a really good dude. He's a personality type. He was on our podcast and he has millions of views and followers and the whole nine. And if that's banned and that's your primary, right, then you're going to have to start all over again. It's like, oh man, hopefully you, like you said, you have that email list.
I was thinking about that this morning when I was reading one of the articles about TikTok. And I'm like, man, any influencers out there that have been relying solely on that, that's scary, right? Like that's your business and you don't have full control over it. So I kind of like the full, like rounded approach where it's like you can do all these things and it ties in together. You need to make sure that you own something. That's probably a conversation for another day, but like even some websites, like you have to think about who owns the domain name, who owns the website, what happens to all that data if you decide to go part ways. So
exactly. I love that.
Such good information. I feel like we went a little bit down the nerd rabbit hole. So if you need help with websites, definitely reach out to Norman. He can probably help you set all this stuff up.
Gotcha.
Let's talk about one of your goals for this year was giving back and speaking and being on podcasts, which I love, which is kind of one of my goals too. Where are you trying to give back? If there's anyone that's listening and has a podcast or they have an event coming up, what are you looking to invest in?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing to invest in right now that I want to do is definitely get on more podcasts so I can be able to share this knowledge. Knowledge is power. It's part of legacy for me. It's like I can't take this. So if I could just give it back by the 10 years and thousands of agents I've met over the time being in the industry, then awesome. And so whether that's getting on a podcast, we'll love to, be of service to anyone out there. Getting on stages. I was just with Team Fast in Oakland, California back in November, and just talking about the process of maximizing websites and how to do as such, because there's a lot of templates. There's a lot of different choices. There's a lot of different ways you can go. But like you said, you potentially could have your domain name like taken from you because you bought a company and then they own it. You don't. Website as well, or the information as far as like that you have on the site that's just build your SEO over the time being that you put it out there. So for me, it's funny because, and hence why I'm coining this Mr. Liftoff, is because when you're a marketing agency like Liftoff Agent, it's more so like, hey, do you want to sponsor? So then I'm paying to be able to speak, to give free information, which is fine. I get it, because the idea is to like earn business. I just feel like I'm already giving so much information and there's a lot of value in that in itself, that I feel like, yeah, it'd be nice to get paid one day, but that's maybe as a keynote speaker, not representing maybe a company. But it's an interesting world that we live because of the fact that like, if you're not a top performing real estate professional that then builds a company, you get to speak that way. Or if you're just a keynote speaker, then you get to speak that way, right? Or you're a coach and you get paid because you're a coach and you're doing really well. So it's kind of one of those things where I feel like, hey, because I'm a owner of this marketing agency, I have to pay to add the value, which is what it is. I did for the Team Fast event, and it's fine, totally understandable. But anything I could do to be of service and not have to pay, I think is a good goal for 2025. Just not because I can't afford it, just because then I feel like I have enough value, right? Outside of just a monetary value, because of my personality or because of my approach or because of the information that I have to be able to, I don't know.
I don't know. It's a funny dynamic, and I think that happens a lot in the like real estate industry because we are vendors and we have a vendor too, right?
Yeah.
Where I would like to share, and they're like, "No, now you owe me 6 figures." I'm like,
Yes, yes. You're like, okay, well, I guess I'm not hiring that person right now because I'm going to be spending this money. Like I looked up Real Broker and EXPCon and some of the numbers are putting out there. I'm just like, man, I could put that towards ads and so much more. And some of these big events, not to go too far off topic, I know time wise too, there's just so much going on and so many different directions people can go into that I feel like it's easy to get diluted. And so that's where I love the intimacy of like joining you for your podcast and someone listening to this, because then it's more of a personal relationship we're building and then others can build with us. And then we can be able to be of service from an organic approach
yeah,
instead of like, one to many. And then people are like, who are you? Oh yeah, you're that guy.
yeah, yeah.
You're that
We'll
girl.
get you on more stages. I'll once if I have some opportunities, I'll send them your way.
Awesome.
So you had mentioned that you wanted to share something with our audience, which I think really kind of piggybacks on some of the topics we've gone
Mhm.
on into on our on the website.
Yeah, definitely. So what I have is if you're watching online, I have this really cool, we're talking about this before, a vibe board. And so it's just liftoffagent.com/maximize/your/website or dash.
I'll
And
drop it in
so,
the show notes too for
yeah,
everybody.
show
So
notes, link, if there's links, check them.
yeah,
But there's an 18-minute presentation. I go in depth about what we talked about briefly today. And then I have a guide and it's 10 steps to basically maximize your website. It's all free. So that's just something that I like to give for free. Of course, like when you go and you download, you'll obviously be a part of our email list and we might text you and stuff like that. But nothing salesy. We just want to be top of mind, add value. I have a YouTube channel as well and put videos out twice a week on Liftoff Agent's YouTube channel and then our podcast as well. And it's all about value, right? I think the more that you give and the more that you add value, the more people see that you're a servant and you're serving the industry with no intention to be able to earn a bunch of business. At first it was paying the bills. Now I'm comfortable, I guess you could say. So now it's like, let's serve more. And then the byproduct is earning business, of course, because we want to expand. But that's not always top of mind. Top of mind is like, hey, get the value first, send me a direct message. Was it helpful? And then, are you going to be able to serve more is my intention.
love it. And so as we kind of wrap up, I'm going to ask you one of our kind of icebreaker questions.
Yeah.
What's the funniest thing that has ever happened to you in real estate?
Yeah, definitely. There's a few, but I'm going to take this one and I'm going to I'm going to take a negative and bring it into a positive. So I might say like, that's not funny. That's like super stressful. But I was in Oakland and I was at Team Fast office and I've been working really, really hard on a PowerPoint presentation. And one of my team members, I call her my work wife, Vitz, goes and duplicates the presentation in Canva. I don't know if this has happened to you out there, but so it's like, okay, I'm updating it. Okay, we have a duplication. I'm updating the duplication. It should be the one that they're going to get. I'm super excited. I'm going to crush this presentation. I made it super simple, which you'll actually see the presentation on this landing page. And so I go, I'm on stage and next thing you know, I'm clicking through slide 1, slide 2, go to slide 3. And I'm just like, this is the wrong one. And I'm just like, oh my God, in front of like 200-300 people. I'm like, this is the wrong one. And I literally said it out loud. I'm like, Elias, this is Ron 1. And I couldn't like go to like the guy behind the screen and, it was too late. So I just had to like roll with what we already had. So it was definitely nerve wracking, but I say it's funny because like sometimes in life, you just have to like roll with the punches and you have to just pivot quick. And that's what I did. And everyone said I did great. And like, they couldn't even tell. I was probably more mad at myself, but I just had to laugh it off and be like, you know what? It's totally fine. It is what it is. Like, and that's why I'm also inspired to get back on stage and do it again because I have a really cool presentation, which is on the landing page again. I would like I have it done now. So if anyone wants to watch it, the done version, you can on that page I told you about. The link's hopefully somewhere around here. But yeah, that was a funny moment. And at the end of the day, I don't know, put things in perspective just to keep moving forward and pivot and, not just get off stage and just not even move forward. I mean, it was an amazing opportunity. I had to pay for it. So it's like, you better keep going or
Better keep going. There's no giving up. I mean, I think that's a lot with like us owning our own businesses, right? And everybody that's listening to this podcast right now, the majority of you probably own your own business. If not, you probably aspire to. And kind of like what we talked about with like the basement offices earlier is like this bright, shiny thing where you see it on social media or you see this presentation. you don't know what is going on behind the closed doors. There's no window in the office, or the presentation that you thought inside was like so messed up and everyone's like, that was great. What are you talking about? You're like beating yourself up, right? Because it's
Yes.
all something so simple, sending the wrong deck over. You're sitting up there going, oh my God, what did I do? Like, it's just, you got to roll with it. Whether you're an agent selling real estate or you're us, like we're vendors that serve realtors.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to roll with it. It takes a certain type of human being, I would say.
Yes. No, definitely. I think also when you work so hard and you have dreams and aspirations and you've worked your tail off to be able to get where you're at, and then you're like sitting there on a stage, for example, it's like such a blessing. So it's like, it's almost doing yourself a disservice and everyone else a disservice not to keep moving forward when like the information's already up there. I just wanted it to be like one slide, one point, and, you know, make it easier for people to digest, because we nerded out a little bit and some people are like, what? Like, you know, it's over their head. But that was what makes me get up every single day and keep moving forward with this business venture that I'm in, because it is, I believe, what's next. And it's fun to be that early adapter and that innovator. Yeah. And then eventually people catch on. They're like, oh my God, this is really different.
And then like people like us can make it easier for agents to do their work and not have to work crazy hours, or maybe they do more because you can see the data, or you can see the visitors, you can target them more, right? Versus feeling like you've got to put out more content or make more phone calls. I mean, it's all different.
Exactly.
I mean, and with like all the TCPA changes that are coming down the thing, like owning your email addresses, tracking our websites, it's going to be a little easier. You have all that because you don't have to make phone calls. So
I love it.
As we wrap up, anybody that's listening in who wants to find you online, get in touch with you, obviously you said you post a lot on your stories. Maybe they just want to go stalk you and see whatever you're doing. Where's the best place to send them?
Yeah, just at Mr. Liftoff. That's simple. On Instagram, you can find me, LinkedIn, also Facebook. Instagram's probably the most that I'm on. And, you know, whether it's fitness, health, cars, family, travel, like all about it, health, all about it, Wim Hof, breathing, cold plunge, like I'm all about it. So it's fun just to be a human being first. And that's why I love sharing what I share online, because it's like, hey, this is a real person and this is who he is and this is what he does.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time on the podcast with us today, and look forward to chatting with you again soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, and hope I had just helped one person.
You're going to help so many more than just one, but
awesome.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Jennifer. You too.
Bye.